to Shocking Facts. Today, we will see 12 interesting facts about the internet. Sit back and relax as we dive into the unknown secrets of the internet.
Thousands of companies are spying on you. In 2018, Facebook was criticized for collecting data from its users' profiles. Beyond knowing our likes, dislikes, or what ice cream flavor we prefer, it also buys data from other companies in order to profit off of the ads it tailors to us. This is one high-profile case of the thousands of companies that also spy. Number 11. The internet was conceived over 100 years ago. While it's hard to actually pinpoint who invented the internet, we do know that scientists across the world were researching and studying it over 100 years ago. Ever since electricity has been discovered, great thinkers like Nikola Tesla, Paul Otlet, and Vannevar Bush were able to deduce that we could harness the power of electrons to communicate with others wirelessly. Sadly, they lacked the technology to achieve the feat themselves, but it was their theorizing that led to today's technology. That's right, you can thank Tesla, the world's most notorious inventor, for the ability to watch cute puppies howling at fire engines. Number 10. Before Google there was Archie, Veronica, and Jughead. Today, many of us consider Google to be the primary search engine. But, before Google, there were others. The first search engine was named Archie, and was launched in 1990. This was later followed by Veronica and Jughead. Although all were search engines, they each worked in very different ways. Ultimately, Google's method proved the most effective, and today the company is by far the most popular search engine available. Number 9. The webcam was created to watch coffee. It's true. In 1991, the very first webcam was created by people working in the computer laboratory of the University of Cambridge, with the sole intention of making sure that they'd never again go to the tea room to find an empty coffee pot. They set up a webcam that was hooked up to every desktop computer in the office. It would monitor the coffee pot by taking a picture every second, an early instance of 1 frame per second, or FPS. It ironically predated the web, and was hooked up through cables. The tea room was named the Trojan Room. The star of the world's first webcam was subsequently called the Trojan Room Coffee Pot, and gained much early internet fame, before being retired in 2001. Number 8. The internet leaves a huge carbon footprint. According to information collated by Climate Care, the energy emitted by the internet exceeds that generated by air travel. Every time you use a search engine, greenhouse gases are released, with an estimated 2 to 7 grams of carbon dioxide released per search. Thankfully, companies such as Google, Apple and Facebook are taking steps to make sure their data centers and cloud computing facilities are greener. But you can help too. Some simple things we can all do are limiting the number of reply all emails we send, turning off computers and laptops when they're not in use for more than 2 hours, and actually going to see someone in person rather than emailing them. Number 7. Do you know you can time travel with the Wayback machine? Well, sorta. The web is a mystical place that allows you to explore it in ways that you can't in the real world. Imagine you could pick a time and place, and with the snap of your fingers, look at it, frozen in time. Well, with the Internet Archive, Wayback Machine, you can do that. This site lets viewers pick a place and a time that it was active to see what it looked like back then. As incognito as you may think you are. Private browsing isn't as private as you thought, and a recent USA Today investigation proves it. Modes like this wipe the sites you're visiting, as well as any saved information, like usernames or passwords, but it only scrubs your own computer of it. Your history is still visible to your internet service provider, ISP, so if you're browsing on your work's Wi-Fi, they can still see the sites you're spending your time on. Maybe close out of Facebook next time you clock in. Number 5. It would take less than 1% of the Amazon rainforest to print the entire internet. A study conducted by students from the Center for Interdisciplinary Science at the University of Leicester estimated that the average web page requires 30 pages of A4 paper to print. Then, they worked out that the average Amazonian tree can provide 17 reams of paper, or about 500 individual sheets, equating to 8,500 sheets of paper per tree. Given the size of the Amazon rainforest, 5.5 million square miles, and its density, around 400 billion trees, this means it would take less than 1% of the Amazon to print the entire internet. Number 4. Cybercrime netted profit of over $1.5 trillion in 2018 only. Scammers online make $1.5 trillion per year, as a whole, by preying on companies and users all over the web. By scamming vulnerable users all over the world, these insidious hackers make enough money collectively to match what France spends on its entire country in 1 year. Scammers use the internet to do things like impersonate companies to steal personal information from consumers, phish with coercive emails, or find ways to hide profits in the expanse of the World Wide Web. Be safe and make sure the personal information you share is limited to only trusted, reputable websites. Number 3. Pizza is the most digitally photographed food. Photos of pizza slice their way to the top of the charts on Instagram. The most common food that people showcase on their Instagram profiles is pizza. According to a Telegraph report, it's followed by sushi, coming in at second place. Juicy steak, burgers, and bacon are also the most popular food art on the web. Number 2. One of the earliest devices online was an A.T.M. The Internet of Things is a term that refers to the phenomenon of all sorts of crazy and mundane appliances getting hooked up to broadband, from hula hoops to egg trays, and one day, to people's brains. But where did it all start? Well, when we don't, sadly, rely on war to push forward our technological advances, our second biggest motivation is the almighty dollar. And what better symbol for that than the humble automated teller machine? Well, the dollar sign. The dollar sign is probably a better symbol for it. Anyway, on with the point. The A.T.M. was invented in 1966, and the first online A.T.M. came about as early as 1968. Number 1. There are 7 keyholders of the internet. It might sound like something out of Lord of the Rings, but there are really 7 keyholders of the internet. Each keyholder is a leading security expert, and was chosen for their vast experience, as well as where they live, since no one country is allowed more than a few of them. What these people control is the system at the very heart of the web, the domain name system, DNS. This is the internet's equivalent of a telephone directory. Without the DNS, every time you visited a website, you'd have to type in a long series of numbers instead of a web address. This would make navigating the internet much harder, and so it's incredibly important the DNS is properly maintained.